Atma, Namaste, and welcome. Today we are going to answer what is Arhatic Yoga. So before we start with what it is, let's talk about what it is not. Most people, when you say what is yoga, they think of Hatha Yoga. It's very, very popular. It's good for your health, good for your muscles, your tendons, your ligaments, good for stretching. It's good for strengthening the physical body. Okay? Now, but if you think about it, the word yoga itself means union or to yoke. All right, so in the strictest sense, yoga is the union of the lower or the incarnated soul and the higher soul. And there are many pathways to do that. One of them is to strengthen the body so that as enough spiritual energy comes in, your body can handle the energy. All right, so Arhatic Yoga was originated by Grandmaster Chokoksi. The word Arhat is actually a Buddhist term for someone who has a strong or complete union with the lower soul, the incarnate soul, and the higher soul. So it's a very, very broad spiritual practice. Okay. Now the word Arhat is also commonly known in the Hindu tradition as Paramahansa. In the Chinese tradition, sometimes they call it Lohan. Like you go to a Chinese restaurant, they call it Lohan's feast. All right. Now, so Arhatic Yoga was originated by Grandmaster Swakok Sui, given to him by his teacher, Mahaguruji Mei Ling. Now, let's kind of put the whole thing together. What exactly is Arhatic Yoga? It's a series of structured spiritual practices. Now, these spiritual practices work something like this. As we always say, you don't become a saint by just, waking up one day and thinking you're illuminated, right? There's a certain process that has happened. So if you're born illuminated or enlightened, that has already happened from previous lifetime. Now, before we continue, what do you mean by illuminated or enlightenment? So, if you think about it, the spiritual self or the soul is a being of pure energy and pure light. Now, this energy is not what Einstein refers to as energy, because A is called mc square. That is energy with mass. The spiritual energy that we're talking about has absolutely no mass. The closest thing we can describe it is brilliant light. Okay? Now, this brilliant light is our true nature. So in order to learn lessons, this soul has to incarnate. The word carne in Spanish means flesh or meat. So this being of pure energy and pure light has to incarnate, put itself into physical, emotional, mental shells or vehicles to be able to experience everyday life, to learn lessons and to experience, an accelerated learning for the soul so it can evolve. Now, so just imagine you have the higher soul, you have the lower soul. The higher soul puts a portion of itself downward to the physical, emotional, mental bodies, moves around, learns lessons, and whatever lessons that are learned are uploaded to the higher soul so the higher soul learns and evolves. That's what you mean by evolution. Now, when you say enlightenment means it's from the viewpoint of the lower soul saying, hey, I get so engrossed in my physical world, emotional, mental world, sometimes we lose sight of who we really are, a being of light. So there are different levels of enlightenment. Now, this journey of enlightenment is actually a series of lessons. Now, so when you go through a spiritual path, you're going through physical, emotional, mental challenges, making mistakes, learning from them, right? So that's part of the spiritual path. And a lot of times we lose sight of who we are. So there are many ways of reconnecting to who you are, right? So this reconnecting is what you call union or yoga. Now, Arhatic Yoga is actually a synthesis of many different types of yoga. For example, in Arhatic Yoga, Grandmaster just put together a simplified version of Hatha Yoga. Essentially, these are certain exercises that move the joints, cleanses chakras through physical movement so your physical body can absorb more energy. And when you're doing meditation, this energy can flow through and get assimilated deeper to make your physical body stronger. All right? And you have Bhakti Yoga. Most of you have heard Bhakti Yoga is the yoga of devotion. All right? Part of Arhatic Yoga has that Bhakti Yoga also. So it's awakening of the heart, the love aspect within you. There's Raja Yoga. Okay? Some of you have taken the other classes. Part of that is what we call the meditation, the blue pearl. And then you have Kundalini Yoga, which is awakening that powerful force at the lower part of the spine. As it goes up, it helps your brain and nervous system register high spiritual signals. For example, a lot of people don't think about it, but when you're meditating, your body's sleeping, your five senses are pretty much muted down, right? So in order to experience intuition, experience all these blissful sensations, all of that is beyond the five senses. So your brain, our brains are not originally, let's just say, manufactured, for lack of a better way of saying it, to register those high signals. That's why if you know anything above the five senses, they say, oh, you have the sixth sense. Now, this sixth sense is what you call signals from the higher soul, or your brain and your nervous system registering things that are of a higher frequency. So in order to accelerate that development, this so-called Kundalini energy has to be properly awakened. Okay? Now, when you say properly awakened, that needs to be done safely. One of the things that we always emphasize in Arhatic Yoga is you want to awaken the Kundalini energy properly, not in such a way that, yes, it's strong, you have all this intuition, but your life is exploding. Okay? A lot of people who don't do it properly or safely, they start having headaches, they start having back pain. You read a lot of books on Kundalini, what do they say? Oh, they can't sleep, they hallucinate, all these negative experiences. A lot of that is due to improper practice. In Arhatic Yoga, we're very, very strict on how to do it systematically and safely. All right? And then you also heard of mindfulness meditation. The word mindfulness is connected to the Hindu or Sanskrit word dhyan or dhyana. All right? So when this dhyan or dhyana went to China, it began Chan meditation. From China, it went to become called Zen in Japan. So Arhatic Yoga also, we have that version of it to experience a deep level of mindfulness and stillness so you can sense the signal coming down from the higher soul. So as you can see, Arhatic Yoga is actually a synthesis of many, many yogas. Because a lot of people say, well, I already do this yoga, I already do that yoga. That's great, but the question is, are you covering all your bases? All right? Because the development of the soul is something like this. It's just like a diamond with many, many facets. And if you want to be, let's just say, enlightened, this enlightenment or being of realization, there being light, that realization has to affect every part of your life. From your mind, to your emotions, to your physical body, to your relationships, and your inner stillness. All that is interconnected. All right? Now, another thing about Arhatic Yoga, in addition to just learning techniques, a big part of it is called spiritual empowerment. When you come to class, whoever the person teaching it, in this case, if you attended with me or one of my colleagues, we have been, let's just say, empowered by the teacher. As we're teaching, a certain amount of energy goes to you, so your development was also accelerated. Okay? Now, let's talk about it a little more. So in Arhatic Yoga, you learn that there are 5 pillars. Okay, I'll just go through a few of them too, so you understand that this practice is not just one of those, oh, okay, I'll close my eyes, I'll do some chanting, I feel blissed out, oh, that's my meditation. Most people think meditation is just sitting down being quiet. It goes beyond that. So I'll just spend a few minutes talking about this. I'll just cite a few pillars. The first pillar in Arhatic Yoga is called devotion to God, reverence to teacher, or respect to teacher. And this pillar is very, very important because you need to have a connection, a strong spiritual connection to a higher power. You can be whatever religion you like, but at least you have to have a proper connection to the Supreme God or a great spiritual being. Yes? That's very important because that plugs you in. It's just like you can have a 4K TV, you can have the most advanced electrical appliances. If you're not plugged into the wall, no electricity comes in, it doesn't work, right? So that's one. Now, respect for teacher or respect for teachers, all our teachers, is basically one of the things that we learned, that even though, the teacher is a physical person at this time, right? Grandmaster Cho taught to us, the teacher was able to put the teachings and the energy in a certain level that is consumable by us. It's just like, if you have something so complicated like differential equations, right? But you have a good professor, the professor will say, let me take this complicated information, and what we do, we'll simplify it, put it at the level that you can understand. So they step down the information at the level we can understand. So pillar number 1 is very, very important. Okay, we'll cover that. The other thing is purification. This is the one I want to talk about a little bit. Some of you might have noticed, you meditate, you experience stillness, your mind is quiet, and somehow, after you finish, you feel calm, very nice, but at work, you notice your temper becomes short, for whatever reason, right? Some of you also notice that certain tendencies that were latent or quiet, or you don't notice it, come to the surface. Like we know some people, this person I know, she doesn't drink liquor, doesn't drink alcohol. After one of the intense meditations, suddenly she's looking for liquor. And she couldn't understand why. But in Arhatic Yoga, we talk about it. So it's something like this. In each of our chakras, you have this chakra web. Once you took pranic psychotherapy, there's a chakra web like a screen door. Behind it, also in the root, we have certain tendencies or energies that we have not yet learned from. We call these ancient seeds. Basically, character defects, pent-up emotions, anger, wrong ideas, negative thoughts, whatever that's packed in there. So they're just very, very small seeds. Now, once you enter a spiritual path, guess what? With so much energy coming in, right? The Kundalini being awakened, it's just like putting fertilizer. When you put fertilizer, everything grows. Flowers, fruits, and weeds. You notice you don't have to try too hard to grow weeds, do you? So when these chakras start enlarging, oh, you're very loving, you're intuitive. You also notice that, hey, how come I have certain thoughts that I normally have not thought of? Or maybe if I did just now and then, now it becomes more prominent. These are called ancient seeds. There's two ways to get rid of them. One is just go to your spiritual practice, give more energy, right? And guess what? When these come to the surface, deal with it. That's why some people call the spiritual path challenging, or it's a path of suffering, and from that suffering you learn from it. In Arhatic yoga, the way Grandmaster Choa says is, if you can enjoy a more fulfilling spiritual path without all these problems, why not? The key is to going in ahead of time, proactively extracting it. And that's a big part of Arhatic yoga. Just like in pranic healing, you don't want to energize until you've thoroughly cleansed. Same thing. You don't want to make everything grow and then go, oh, great, now what? Right? You want to pluck it out, and that's part of a series of step-by-step techniques. Just like in pranic healing, you have protocols. In Arhatic yoga, you have certain steps that you take. Weekly meditation, weekly practices. You just keep plucking this out so you can accelerate your development and not have all these problems pop in your face. All right? What else? Then you have certain meditations. In Arhatic yoga, you'll be given many meditations that you do on a schedule. The purpose of that is this. One of them is to awaken your heart more. The other one is to sharpen your mind. The other one is to awaken the Kundalini further. The other one is to make you more sensitive to high spiritual signals. All of these are staggered in such a way that you do it systematically and consistently so that your development is even. Okay? So the purpose of the meditations there is to accelerate your spiritual development. No one woke up one day and said, ding, I'm a saint. Everything was done with a certain process. And instead of having to find it out yourself, the teacher just laid out a roadmap. You know, it's interesting. I remember some people saying, you can experience enlightenment without the teacher. That's absolutely true. You can. It's like you can get to a destination without a roadmap. The question is, number one, how much time? Number two, how many mistakes and suffering you want to experience? And number three, how much pain you want to endure? So in Arhatic yoga, the system is very simple. This is the roadmap. This is what the teacher has gone through. These are the challenges, the difficulties. These are the detours. These are the things that you don't do. So if you follow that roadmap, sure, you can get there by yourself, but why work so hard when somebody says, follow, like a GPS, right? So that's part of what Arhatic yoga is. Now, another portion that I really valued when I learned it is something like this. Some of you have noticed that once you enter the spiritual path, certain parts of your life came crashing down, right? Some of you finances, relationships, health, right? And some of you just things just blow up in your face. You go, what the heck is happening? That's called karmic acceleration, okay? Denial of it doesn't make it go away. So the key is understanding these are the potential things that could pop up. So what you're learning in Arhatic yoga, you try to learn how to understand what types of karma might come to the surface in different aspects of your life and different times in your life, and what it is, and the solution to what? To neutralize it. You get the idea? And in other schools, they understand that too, but what they do is, a lot of them, they say, okay, it's part of your learning. As you suffer, as you learn from it, you become stronger. I agree completely. But the question is, what if, instead of having to experience the pain, you can just extract the lesson and move on with your life? And if something does pop up, you know the antidote. I don't know about you, but who wants to suffer or work so hard if you don't need to? And that's exactly the secret. Learn from other people's mistakes. The teacher has made the mistakes himself, learning from other teachers, and he just basically hands it to you, say, when this happens, do this. When you do this, do this. So for me, that's priceless. In fact, in the back of your handout in the class, there's at least 6 pages of, I think like 6 pages of potential problems on your spiritual path. I'll give you an example. One of them is some people, when they meditate, their physical body gets weak, or they start having rashes, or they have difficulty sleeping. A big part of it is the body adjusting to this massive amounts of energy coming in. right? So the solution is given. Some people, when they start doing spiritual practice, your relationships, start going crazy. Part of it is adjustment. Adjustment in the sense that your mind is sharper, your aura is clearer, your processor works faster, so you see things differently than before. So your spouse, the people you work with, they are still where they were from before. In your case, what happens? Your CPU got upgraded. So you see things clearer, faster, so you have a tendency to be impatient with them without knowing it. So guess what happens? Explosion. Get the idea? And sometimes, what else? Pent-up emotions that were there came to the surface. So, in other schools, you just say, well, you just have to practice more love. We do that already, but what if there's a way to get rid of it and then practice love? Don't you get there a little faster? And then there's accelerated karma. What is the cause? What is the solution? What else? ESP syndrome. This is common. A lot of people, when they meditate, they do their spiritual path. At some point, they can't relate to reality anymore. You notice that? You start not liking your friends anymore. You don't go to certain places. You start secluding yourself. Look, it's nice to be spiritual, but it's also terrible to be lonely. And the idea is, once you recognize these, you're given solutions on how to counter them so you can have accelerated, fulfilling spiritual life and still have a life. Still have a family, have a job, enjoy the luxuries of life, have good health. So it makes it truly a fulfilling life. So that's what Arhatic Yoga offers. People keep asking, what is it? I can't really tell you in one sentence, but it's basically a whole package. It's a way of life, all right? Now, another thing that we always say is, yeah, that's great, but one of my biggest challenges is motivation. I get excited, then I don't meditate, or I'll do that later, right? All of us fell into that. And so the nice thing about Arhatic Yoga is, number one, you're giving a schedule. It's not like, oh, you meditate when you feel like it. I've learned some people, they say, oh, do what's right for you. Bad idea. Because what feels right to you is not always right. You know why? Because if the spiritual connection is not that strong yet, what governs our life? Our emotions, our thoughts, and our physical body. And they don't want to be controlled. The whole idea with spiritual practice, as you enlarge the spiritual connection, the higher soul controls the body, the emotions, and the thoughts. Now, if you reverse it, when this spiritual cord is smaller, guess what? The physical body have what it wants, right? The emotional body wants drama. The mental body wants to criticize and argue. Instead of what? Sitting comfortably, immobilize your body, which is what? Controlling your body, yeah, right? Try to calm your emotions. What is it? When you calm your emotions, that means this someone, the higher soul saying, the emotional body, behave. This monkey mind, when your mind is quiet, that's the higher soul is doing something to quiet the mind. So at that point, then you get to experience a level of enlightenment, a level of understanding and realization who you are, being of light. Okay? I hope this helps a little bit, because sometimes people say, oh, there's so much. Actually, in reality, if you think about it, there are many ways for spiritual development, many, many pathways. Personally, of course, you might say I'm biased. Well, look at it this way. When I first started, I wasn't even interested. I was the worst student. I couldn't feel anything. I was a lazy bum. But somehow, I said, oh, okay, I'll try this thing. After all, I don't have anything I'm doing anyway. And whatever I did before, I do it sporadically. Let me try putting myself in a regimen. And guess what? When I put myself in this regimen, I go, hey, this is good. I notice my mind is clear. When a crisis comes up, I keep it together. People can lean on me rather than me being an emotional liability to other people. And I started teaching, and I started noticing the more I do my meditation, my spiritual practice, if everything and something pops up, I know how to handle it. Things just kind of come together. I don't know if that means anything. Just everything comes together. It starts to make sense, and then the Arhatic Yoga became a part of my life. And if you see me teach this with such passion, because the teachers through the Arhatic Yoga and many teachings have literally transformed my life. And we want to empower you, okay? When you come to our classes, to Arhatic Yoga, we've given step-by-step technique. You do the intense meditation, and then what happens? You accelerate and maintain a structured spiritual practice. Now, another thing. What we try to do is we're having this Arhatic Yoga retreats, okay? It happens all over the world. It just so happened in this area. We do it in March in Oxnard. So After you've taken the classes now, you do your meditations, right? You do your practice. When you come to the retreat, guess what you do? You get to do? You get to fellowship with all these people who have been practicing. You get to share notes, compare experiences, right? What else? You need to have your techniques clarified during class. You get to meditate together at the beach. You get to do all these things in a retreat setting so that your spiritual development is pushed a little further. And that's what we like. And we also have a lot of classes that we teach all over the country, Arhatic yoga, so you can retake them. And we also do, there are many people there are many groups that are doing the techniques online together, so there's a support system. All right? I hope that gives you an idea what Arhatic yoga is. This is just a short discussion of what it is. And from there, if you want to know more, visit our website, call the office, or talk to someone who has taken the class and find out more. Other than that, I think we're good. So, Atma, Namaste. Thank you very much for spending this time with us. You guys take care, and we'll see you in the classes. Take care. Bye. Namaste.